Hi folks, a very good day to you. Cockney Kayaker here. Welcome to Lincolnshire, where it's always good to have your company. Now, I've been sort of paddling for about 12 months now. I bought my first kayak about a year ago. And in these last 12 months, I've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors. So I wanted to share with probably those that are just coming into perhaps kayaking or very, very new to kayaking. I just wanted to share my top 5 blunders. And hopefully that way you'll not make the same mistakes as I did. Probably the first 3 to 4 months of kayaking, I would choose a stretch of water that I was going to go and have a paddle on without doing a great deal of research. Now, here in Lincolnshire where I live, we are kind of spoilt for choice for rivers and canals. So I would just sort of say, right, I'm going to go on that particular stretch of water, pack the van, get up nice and early the next day, drive off and realise that there's really nowhere for me to drop in. So I found myself a lot of the time driving, sometimes, I drive quite a while only to realise that this ain't going to happen. Become ill-tempered and just drive home wasting the time. But then I learnt that really stupid. There's a wealth of information on the internet, Facebook groups, wherever you're going to go. There's always someone who's been paddling on that stretch of water, knows that area, can give you some great advice, and I really use these groups to my benefit. I never dreamt of going out and doing a recce before I actually went for a paddle. That's something that I try to do these days. So my preparation is far better than it used to be. So when I do get up nice and early to go for a paddle, I know that I'm going to be able to drop in, and I know that my day's not going to be spoiled. Also, I guess under preparation is the weather. Keep an eye out for the weather, that it's not going to lash it down, which will ruin your day. So use Facebook, use Google, use all the paddling kind of apps that we can now get, and don't make the mistake that I did and drive out only to have a wasted day. So tip number 5, really important, preparation. A question that I get asked quite a lot with people that I meet on the bank, and people that kind of contact me through my YouTube channel or DM me, is that do you need to be able to swim to go paddling? Well, there's no law to say that you do need to be able to swim. A lot of the times, the sort of rivers and canals that I go on, if something kind of catastrophic was to happen, I can get to the bank and get out the water. Would I go paddling if I couldn't swim? No. Would I take someone paddling with me who couldn't swim? No. It's irresponsible, isn't it, really, not to be able to swim. We have our personal flotation device, brilliant, but you still need to be able to swim. You have life jackets, which are something completely different, which will restrict your sort of ability to swim. So for me, swimming is a no-brainer. Learn how to swim before you learn how to paddle. Keep safe. Am I a strong swimmer? No. Could I get myself out of trouble should the inevitable happen? Yes. So tip number 4, for me, and in my opinion, definitely learn how to swim. If we was to fall into the water, our biggest problem is going to be cold water shock. Now, I've been in the water recently, and it's proper cold. And some of the kayaking, I've kayaked the last 12 months in all the seasons, from it being boiling hot to literally ice on the boat. And no matter what the weather's like, you've got to dress for the occasion. Last winter I had sort of a wetsuit on, not really appropriate, I don't think, for the cold weather when it really, the cold weather comes. So for this winter I've invested in a dry suit. Quite an hefty investment, to be fair, but I know that if I do go into the water, I've got the fleece underneath that. I know that I'm going to be okay. I've seen people kayaking in winter with great big woolen jumpers on, you know, with their flotation device on top of that. Now, if they was to go in the water, that's going to soak up, it's going to become so heavy so quickly that, you know, they could get into trouble. In the summer, I've been out when I've not had the proper sort of vest on, and I've just sweated buckets, and it can ruin your day. If you're cold, if you're too hot, you know, it can really ruin your day. So it just highlights the importance of having the right clothing on. So for me, in the winter, it's a dry suit. It's a large investment, but for me, a brilliant investment. You know, I can use that in sort of early spring and autumn, and in the summer, you know, it's a pair of shorts, isn't it? Also, you know, I used to kayak barefooted, and until my wife bought me a pair of swimming shoes, I guess you'd call them. But on reflection of that, you know, you go into these rivers and canals and you don't know what someone's thrown in there, so to go in barefooted was a bit stupid, really. So I like to think that, you know, I've got the right clothing for the right day and the right time of year, and hopefully by having the right clothing it will make my paddling experience much better. But also, you know, when I started, I had quite a quite heavy paddle that was just far too short for, you know, paddling in my particular the kayak that I had, and I would just get wet, you know, and become a nightmare really, and I just couldn't stop the water running down the paddle and into the kayak, and it was becoming really frustrating. And then just by chance I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll get a longer paddle, and I think I was paddling a 220 tip to tip centimetre paddle, which was heavy as well, and then went on to a 250 centimetre kind of aerospace aluminium, and just basically made a world of difference. Much lighter, so much easier on the shoulders and the back, and just overall a much better paddle. From there I went on to purchasing a fiberglass. It's supposed to have been carbon fibre, the paddle that I purchased, but I think it's fiberglass. It was like £70, 250 centimetre tip to tip, light as a feather, absolutely brilliant. 70 quid off Amazon, couldn't believe it. And again, it just was that next step up from the aluminium one. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, strong. It's in 3 pieces, can set it to different angles, transform the way that I kind of paddled. It makes so much difference. So I guess the next progression will be to buy a carbon fibre one, which will be, I don't know, £200–300, I guess, something like that. But for now, you know, I'm really happy with the paddle that I've got. He also had problems with personal flotation device. I kind of started off with one that was bulky and lumpy, and it just didn't feel right. You know, I'd sit in the kayak, it would ride up, and the back of it was sort of up here, and it was just overall really, really uncomfortable. It had no pockets. It was just didn't feel comfortable. I tried a few different ones. Some I bought that were really cheap, some I bought that were more expensive, you know, and none of them just kind of felt right, you know, when I sat in the kayak. And then eventually I bought one from Decathlon, which had was just much better fitting vest for me. It had pockets that what I needed, especially for me from a GoPro, batteries and stuff like that, my mobile phone. You know, it just ticked all the boxes, and more importantly, when I sit in my kayak, it just feels nice and comfortable. And it also feels like, unlike some that I've had, that if I was to fall in the water, the bloody thing would just come flying off the top of my head. I'm sure that wouldn't happen, but that's how it feels sometimes. But this one is nice and snug, nice and secure, but without feeling kind of restrictive. So the equipment that you choose, you know, dry bags. I mean, I've bought dry bags that not really dry. You put something in there like your snap, which is really important, and that was to get wet. It's not good, is it? So I've looked at all these accessory items that I've had, and slowly and surely I've just learnt by my mistakes and just stuff that's a lot better really, and suits my needs far greater. So whenever choosing something, do a bit of research. Again, Amazon, eBay, wealth of information out there. Get the right accessories and try to get good quality accessories. I've bought cheap stuff and I've had to buy again, and being from London, I'm tight, so I don't like buying twice. So yeah, just have a think about it rather than just buying a dry bag. Buy one that is going to keep your items kind of dry. Oh, look who's joined me. It's my cat. Here he goes. Look at that. I don't know, he's going a bit scatty this morning for some reason. He just appeared like Zebedee from nowhere and acting very bizarre. In the last 12 months I've had quite a few different kayaks, to be fair, and I've also paddled friends' kayaks, and I could never ever get comfortable. Now when I go paddling, I like to do a fair distance. I can do 15 mile in a kayak in a session. For me, that's not a problem. Perhaps for some people can do a lot more, but sort of 15-20 mile, 10 mile out, 10 mile back is a nice paddle for me. I enjoy the exercise. But I'd get into my kayak no matter what one I had, and within 10-15 minutes I'm shuffling around. My blooming lower back's killing me. I just can't get comfortable. I've tried various seats and seating arrangements and just weren't right. It just wasn't right. In the end I was kind of putting up the fact that if I want to go paddling, I'm going to have a sore back, and that was it. Until I bought a particular kayak that gave my lower back that much support. I was able to do these sort of 15-20 mile paddles without any back problem at all. It was like magic. If that kayak is not comfortable, we're not comfortable in that kayak, how long is our day going to last? How enjoyable is our day going to be? So there's all these various inflatable kayaks out there on the market, loads and loads of them. But for me, I had to go through quite a few before I actually found one that transformed my kayaking and made it. Well, it was always an enjoyable experience paddling for me, but the buying a particular, mine was the Go Plus. Once I bought that Go Plus, and it just kind of transformed things for me. It became a really pleasurable experience, and I could do further distances, and at the end of the paddle I'd get out the back and I wasn't crippled. I've got friends that complaining all the time that their back aches when they go out kayaking, and I can empathise with that. I know what it's like, but you can do something about it. Either by a chance find that the right seating arrangement, or find a brand of kayak that kind of suits you, suits you better, and that's exactly what I did. So I was very lucky. So we're not really, unless you know people that have got kayaks and that, you kind of go into these shops and you buy one, and you maybe if you're lucky you can sit in it for like 5 minutes, and it doesn't really tell you a great deal until you're actually out paddling on the water. So it is quite difficult. But I've got the Go Plus. I think if you like single paddling, and you've got back issues, you're not go wrong with that. In fact, they were so good I bought two. But yeah, the kayak, really important piece of kit, and it's really important if you're going to go on long sort of paddles that you get one that obviously you feel comfortable in. I've learned over the last 12 months that some of the people that I spoke to in the kayaking world were giving me pretty much rubbish advice. They kind of thought they knew it all, when in actual fact they didn't know anything really. Very rarely did they actually go out paddling, but they was experts. I was quite lucky, I suppose, and you know, I met a guy called Cole Senior, who has a YouTube channel that I'm sure a lot of you will know, called More Than Just a Cleaner. Brilliant channel. Cole is a really nice bloke. He's become you know, a friend, and you know, he's sort of one person that knows what he's talking about. You know, he's very clued up, very on the ball when it comes to sort of kayaking and outdoor pursuits. So Cole gave me quite a lot of information, and really helped me. And what's more important, the information that he gave me at the time I probably didn't know, but knowing what I know now 12 months on, and I'm still very much a beginner and still very much learning, I've realised that the information that he did give me was the right information and good information. And you know, if you're going to take advice from people, try to find a person that's going to give you the right information. Be very wary. Not always easy, I know. Very difficult, because when you don't know, you're not really in a position to argue or contradict somebody. But I've met a few people over the last 12 months who are, you know, that actually go out and do paddling, not just sort of have their paddle in a shed that never comes out of the bag, you know, so actually, you know, do participate in the sport. You know, Cole's one of those, and I'm grateful for the information that he's given me over the last 12 months. So there you go. That's my, if you're just coming into kayaking or just been in it for a little while, these are some of the mistakes that I've made. You know, buying the cheap equipment that just is not fit for purpose, taking advice from people that really don't know. They think they know, but they don't know. Making all sorts of mistakes, getting too giddy driving out to venues, only to realise that there's really nowhere to drop in. It's full of stinging nettles and weeds. You know, in summer, and in the winter time I've had it where it's that steep, the banks are so steep, so muddy, so slippery, that, you know, it's too dangerous. So I'm sure I'm still going to make some mistakes moving forward. As I said, I'm still very much learning, still very much a beginner, but still very much enjoying kayaking. And if you're thinking about taking up the sport, do it, you won't regret it. So until the next time, all the best, safe and happy kayak.